So, talking about love. So, people that have been in this practice for a while know that we think of love as a love that is. It's not a love that arises in one being and radiates out to another being and to another being. And we only can experience love when love is intentionally sent in our direction. It actually has, in my opinion, very little to do with that. We practice with a love that is, a love that is as ubiquitous and accessible as the air around us. So that just as we breathe and air naturally enters our being, so as we move in the world as humans, we are always moving in this environment of love. The question, of course, is, well, why have we not known this? And there can be many, many answers to that, but the primary answer is that we're unaware. And that once we awaken and not only understand it intellectually, but experience it, feel the reality of this love, we begin to know in our deepest being, in our very cells, that this is the reality. This is the truth. So some people listening to this recording may not be ready to believe in that kind of love. And that's natural and normal because it's a very new concept. But what I'm inviting us to, if that's new to us, is to experiment with it. So I'm a long time experimenter. Yes, I have degrees in science and was exposed to formal lab experimentations, but it's also something that I just do naturally. And it's actually what life is. Life is a big experiment. We try something and we see what happens. However, most of the time when we try something, we have an outcome in mind. I'm going to try this and I want blank to happen. So in this process, what is very, very important is that we try something and then we observe to see what's happening. We attempt to not develop some sort of, and then when I'm done with the 60 days, I'm going to be, or the world is going to be, but instead, all along our process, we're observing what is happening in us, what is happening through us. So our invitation, to be clear, is to experiment with love. And to practice for these 60 days, this is going to get very clear. What we're doing here is to be loved. 60 days, the practice is to be loved. Step one, be loved. Let love enter into our being. Nothing happens until we do that. Then the next step is to fall into that love, to recognize that it's not just in us, it's not just this beam coming into us, we are being loved. We recognize that we are in this love and we give ourselves over to it. The last step is to let go of that thing, that thought that we have to love, and to recognize that when we are loved, when we are in love, When we allow our hearts and beings to be completely open, we naturally love. We don't even have to try anymore. It's a flow, just like the flow of breath. And we, of course, practice with that in and during the practice. So I was talking to somebody yesterday and they had seen my invitation and they're like, I just am not ready to love certain people. I don't want to do that. And I said, please don't. That is not what this experiment is about at all. It's not attempting to make yourself love somebody else. It's attempting to be in love and see what happens. I have been in this experiment for a while. I know what has happened for me. It definitely makes me more accepting. It's not that nobody ever irritates me. People still irritate me. I still disagree with people. I still think there are things wrong in the world. But I'm also able to do that from an open-hearted, compassionate, and even accepting place. That we are all souls living a certain experience. And that people who are awakened or awakening, it is our job to do the loving or allow the loving, not stop up, not block up the loving within ourselves. So let's practice together. Again, recalling that we practice in love, that this love surrounds us in this very moment. Just as you know, air is surrounding you, love is surrounding you. And that love is actually the very ground of our being. It's not just outside of us, it is us. It's the foundation of all things. And see if already you can begin to relax into that kind of love. And then I invite you to simply drop into your own experience. This is our first step into presence, is to notice exactly what we are experiencing in any given moment. So we may notice sounds, sights. We may notice what our body is feeling. We may notice emotions, all the things that can happen in our senses and our being. We simply notice. And when we notice, I invite you to name it silently to yourself. This is our first step into presence. Already we are a little more here within ourselves, just being able to name what is our immediate experience, just being able to name a sound or a sight. And we deepen that experience in and through and with our body. And in our practice today, we really focus on love and the body being loved. So we're going to imagine that each part of our body is receiving love, just like we were laying on a beautiful sunny beach. The temperature is just right, and the sun is shining down on us. And that light is love. So we feel that love entering our feet and our lower legs. Our knees and our upper legs. We feel love entering our hips, our pelvis, and our belly. We feel love entering our chest, our heart. We feel love entering our shoulders, our upper arms, our lower arms, and our hands. And then we feel love flowing up our spine, beginning down at our tailbone, going up and through the spine and including all the muscles of the back, rib cage, going up to the neck, scalp, and the face. And now noticing your body as a whole, feeling yourself as one whole physical being here now. And that it is completely filled with love that it has received. That love has flowed into you. You didn't make it. See what it feels like when you recognize that you have received that love and the effect that it might have on your body. And now bringing your awareness to your inner being, beginning with your heart, your emotional heart center. And imagining that love flowing into your heart. And just noticing what happens. Does it flow in easily and naturally? Is there any resistance or obstruction? Do any thoughts come in about whether or not you're worthy of love? And then coming back just to that flow of love entering your heart. What happens as you receive it? You let it in. As love flows in, what happens to your spirit or the aliveness in your body? What happens in the energy or flow or vibration of your being? What happens in your mind? Now experiencing yourself as one whole being, body, heart, spirit, mind, completely filled with love. And don't jump now, as the ego might want us to do, to giving this love away. Hold this love in yourself. It's for you. Now extending your awareness beyond your body to include the room that you're in. And then extending it even further to include the land upon which you're situated, to include all the creatures on the land, human and non-human, to include all of nature. And then if you're able, just let the awareness continue to extend until it includes the whole earth. And recognizing that the love that fills you fills all being. That you are a part of it. And now noticing the way that gravity, that the earth, gravity through the earth, is drawing you into itself. Holding you here on the earth. We don't do this part of the practice so that we can feel solid or grounded. We do it so that we can feel held. We do it so that we can give ourselves over to holding, recognizing that we are not doing the holding. We are being held. And when that really penetrates our mind or our experience, that we are being held, we naturally begin to relax. When we begin to relax, when we open our full being opens, love flows more and more easily, more and more naturally through us. So continuing to feel our full being, continuing to feel this holding. From there, begin to notice your breath flowing in and flowing back out again. Don't try to make any meaning of it. Simply notice each little minute movement of the breath as it draws the air in and releases it. And most of us will notice how easily the breath flows when we don't obstruct it, when we don't try to control it. We let our body do its job of breathing. It does it perfectly. Now, imagining that the flow of love is exactly like the flow of the breath. That it flows into you, filling you, and then it naturally and easily flows back out again. When it flows back out, you are not emptied, you are still filled with love. So this is a continual flow of receiving, and it's not giving, actually. It's letting go. We let go of the air. We surrender the breath. We do the same with love. We don't hang on to it. We let it flow. And then really observing the breath as it flows out and feeling the sensation of release, of surrender. And just following that breath all the way out, letting go of everything, thought, tension, shoulds. Letting go into a place of complete surrender. Letting ourselves simply be in love. Thank you all so much for practicing with me and supporting my own practice. May you receive love today. May you allow love to flow. I love you all.